And from BMW to Ferrari, it's time for Ferrari Challenge down here on the grid. We've got a beautiful field of these glorious 296s and some 488s out there. Now, Shay, this is a series that you've spent plenty of time with in America, but very new here to Australia. It's only our second season.
It's honestly one of the best series in the world for customer support. Ferrari caters to their clients. The people who are here this weekend are made to feel as if they are the most important driver in the world, and that's why they get so many drivers across the world.
Now, Enzo Cheng won yesterday's on the pole. Why don't you go over and grab a quick word with our pole sitter, because he's inherited the pole after a three-place grid penalty to Antoine Gattani, and they put on an amazing race yesterday, Shay, which was highly entertaining in front. The front three battle was great.
Yeah. Hey, Enzo, do you mind if I interview you really quick?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yesterday's race was phenomenal, but it must have kept your blood pressure and your heart rate up pretty high. How do you stay calm and cool knowing you're racing a Ferrari at Bathurst?
I mean, just to race a Ferrari at Bathurst is such a special experience, and I think just to enjoy the moment. I had lots of fun yesterday, even though it was probably the toughest race so far. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it.
What are you looking forward to from today's race?
Hopefully more of the same. Just get out and stay in front through the first corner, and hopefully a bit of chaos behind me keeps him busy.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
And now over to Chad, who's talking to the guy who's starting alongside of him, who happened to put on one of the best moves of the race yesterday.
Came flying through the field off the back yesterday. Rick, come from New Zealand to be here today. Off the front's a bit of a better view, huh?
Oh, it's much better up here, but there's more pressure. Yesterday coming off the back, I felt there was no pressure for my first race in the car, but now we've managed to get on the front row. It's a different story, isn't it? You've got to perform and get out there and have a crack. So I love the car. It's pretty exciting. Haven't been here for a long time, so still coming to terms with it. Yeah, let's just see how we go.
I'll let you get your game face on, because I want to quickly show the fans these beautiful cars, and especially this part here. It's got a 3-litre twin-turbo V6 rear-mounted motor, which is what these cars use to get up to 700 horsepower and go nearly 300 kilometres an hour in a straight line here this weekend, Shay.
All right, Antoine Gattani, you're starting in P4. The pressure is starting to build. How excited are you for this race?
Yeah, really excited. Up against 3 other good drivers, really good drivers, so this will test my skills.
Good luck in this one.
Thank you.
Well, the drivers do sound a little bit nervous. We've got a full grid ready and set to go. 30 minutes on the clock. Second race of the weekend, opening round of their championship. Second year that we've had this glorious category with these beautiful Ferraris here in Australia, and we are just about set and ready to go. Mount Panorama is the location. Let's go racing with Ferrari Challenge Pirelli Australasia.
The longest running one-make series in the world returns to Mount Panorama as Ferrari Challenge Australasia starts their 2026 campaign here at Mount Panorama. This 5-round championship will also visit Phillip Island, the Bend, Queensland Raceway, and also Sydney Motorsport Park. But for the second time, we visit this wonderful circuit. Mount Panorama, 3 hours west of Sydney. This 6.23 kilometre racetrack's got 23 turns, and in one of these Ferrari Pirelli 296 Challenge cars, they'll do roughly 300 kilometres per hour at the turning point heading into the chase. We're set for 30 minutes here this afternoon. Myself, Brian van der Wacker, alongside Renato Liberto. Really looking forward to this, mate. We saw a great race yesterday, and if that's anything to go by, this one's also set to be a cracker.
Absolutely, Brian. And we've already seen this morning in qualifying too, which is separate for this race today. The times have tumbled. Obviously, Antoine Gattani with a 2:05 flat, which is a fantastic lap here. He thought he had more pace in the car as well. And looking at data of the other drivers around him, everyone's got more potential that they just didn't really get a chance to extract it at the end of the session.
Gattani thought that he could have done a 2:04 in qualifying this morning, but the headline really being is that unfortunately his time theoretically was put back to position number 4 because, and you can go into a little bit more depth because I know you're part of the team there, but he was judged to have been too quick through a yellow flag through the final corner.
That's right. The car 88 Adnan Sabai sort of rotated the car into Murray's and ended up in the gravel trap, as we see so many cars do. And as that happened, the yellows came out at the final turn. And obviously that lap for Antoine was a lap record, purple sector in all 3 sectors, and he did go through there deemed to have not slowed the car enough. And the standing regulation for that is the 3 grid place penalty, putting him back into that 4th place position. So obviously a little bit more work for him to do, but probably the key thing from yesterday is, as they saw on the grid, Rick Armstrong. He was a real mover and shaker in that race yesterday, and he still hasn't had a chance yet to race with Antoine and Enzo, nor have they had a chance with him because he didn't get a chance to catch up to them in the race. So that's really the unknown for a lot of us here at the moment, is how that battle's going to play out. Enzo's strategy is all about getting to the front and letting the guys have a melee behind him and hopefully bridging a bit of a gap to them. So we'll see if that works out to him at the start of this race. But we do know as well, Rod Wilson, who didn't qualify as well as his performance was yesterday, had a lot of pace towards the mid to end of the race. So if he can latch onto them as well, he might have a sort of a 5 or 6 car sort of I guess all-in brawl at the start of this race.
So with Enzo Cheng starting on pole position, he's going for 4 straight race wins here this afternoon. That result that he had yesterday was quite strong because he was able to, in many regards, back those other drivers in behind. So here's your lineup for race number 2 of the weekend for Trofeo Pirelli Ferrari Challenge Australasia. It's Enzo Cheng, Rick Armstrong on your first row, Jim Policina and Antoine Gattani on that second row. David Truone will lead Copper Shell from position number 5.
Yeah, fantastic over there. Masahiro Taguchi alongside him. Richard Moore, the first of our Trofeo 488 on row 4. And then bringing out the rear, there's Stephen Coe, Frank Italiano and Adnan Sabai, who had that moment in race 1.
We mentioned it there, a couple of different class structures here for Ferrari Challenge Australasia. We've got Trofeo Pirelli, we've got Copper Shell and Trofeo Pirelli 488, which is the older generation car.
That's right, Brian. And the easiest way to tell those cars differently, as you said, they're rolling past the camera now, is that visor strip. Our sort of faster vehicles, our Trofeo Pirelli cars in the 296 class are there, the red banner across the front. Our Copper Shell class is the yellow banner across the windscreen. And our blue banner is the Trofeo Pirelli 488 class. They have their own individual pole position points, they have their own individual podium, and they also have another bonus point for each of those classes, the fastest lap in the race.
And it's not a progressive grid format that we sometimes see as well. There is separate qualifying sessions for the races. So we had a qualifying session earlier on this morning, which we made mention of, that Gattani was theoretically fastest, but got put back for that infringement, going too fast through the yellow flag sector. These cars are beautiful machines, and they do take a little bit of that technology from Formula One, because what you'll see here is that front splitter is raised at the front part of the car, and that's to create an S-duct, believe it or not, so to help with the car's pitch under brakes and to really improve the stability of these cars.
And as we've sort of discussed with these cars, we're looking on screen now, the aerodynamics of both the 488 and the 296 really are derived from their F1 experience of the Scuderia Ferrari. But the 296 is an 18% improvement in downforce and drag reduction, I guess, over the 488. So couple that with the 700 horsepower and a slipperier car, that's why we're seeing 300 k's an hour into the chase pretty much every lap for every car.
And you reckon if we put someone like a pro driver, for instance, in these cars, what do you think? Maybe a 202 here at Bathurst?
Yeah, we were sort of considering low 2s would be an option. Good conditions, a bit of a tailwind, maybe a 1 with a bit of hope. I joked before to some of the drivers, and it's very easy for me to say that as a retired driver sitting in a commentary box. It's much harder when you're in the car trying to do it. But yeah, these cars are absolutely phenomenal machines, and the best part about a challenge car is it's so accessible. With the traction control and the ABS system, you can have amateur drivers doing exceptional things in these cars, but you can still extract the performance if you're a pro.
And we'll touch on that as the race goes on as well. So we've got 30 minutes on the board. Race number 2. So Enzo Cheng and Rick Armstrong on that front row. Watch for Policina and Gattani off that second row as well. We'll head down into Murray's corner and down the Maguire's pit straight. The world's longest running one-make series returns here to Mount Panorama, and it'll be Enzo Cheng that will lead them to the green light to start race number 2 of season 2026. It's a good start though from Armstrong on that outside, but he's going to have to go the long way around through turn number 1, and that's exactly what he does. The Kiwi will lead the field up Mountain Straight for the first time.
And looking at data of all the drivers sort of yesterday evening as well, Rick is one of the guys who's got the best peak brake pressure, meaning that dive into turn 1 was always going to be in his favour. He could lunge a lot deeper than any other car, but already you can see Antoine and Jim Pollicina really making a move here.
Big move down the inside from Pollicina, so Enzo Cheng, after starting on pole, now finds himself into position number 3. Now, we saw yesterday that Pollicina was really hungry in that 3rd spot. He wasn't afraid to show the nose at certain points, but these cars do generate a little bit of dirty air, so track position is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we've seen, you know, Jim is a very experienced racer. He does, you know, he understands racecraft well. It'll be interesting to see how he puts pressure on Rick in this first instance, and whether or not Enzo and Antoine will sort of be saving their cars a little bit. We know they've got more outright pace at times, but whether they're trying to save the tyre and look after that front tyre for the end of this race. Obviously, it's a half-hour race, but a lot can happen in that time.
There was a little bit of that gamesmanship going on this morning, wasn't there, in terms of tyre use and when people were ultimately opting to use them in their qualifying runs this morning. So Cheng coming under attack from Gattani as Pollicina will try and work on your race leader. Here's this battle for position number 3. Gattani, if he can get a good exit here out of Forest Elbow, he might be half a chance once they get down into the Scuderia Auto Art chase.
He's going to have a big toe here. Yesterday we were seeing about 5 kilometres an hour on the toe. He's the closest we've seen these quicker guys come through. I'm just going to keep an eye on the speed trap as they run into the chase, because this is going to be very, very quick.
Remember, the trap at the chase is still about 100 metres before the actual braking markers. They are getting close to that 300 mark, but Gattani not quite close enough on that particular lap, as Armstrong here is just settling in nicely here now, starting to build that margin between himself and Pollicina. They'll come back to the line this time by, so the margin from first back to second at the end of the opening lap is 1.4 seconds.
Emil Norden there with a big look up the inside of the 275 car, obviously pulled out early, but Emil had a bit of time to make up as well. Yesterday he sort of had a bit of a moment. He's really sort of found his pace in qualifying this morning as well, but I think just working on that 275 car, Richard Moore, sort of timing his best run to try and get past him.
Here's Sabai in the 88 machine, the driver that unfortunately brought out that red flag earlier on in qualifying this morning. And that car is going to have a different livery throughout the course of the year as well. He's got an artist working with him, and it's going to change throughout the course of the year as we head back towards the battle for position number 1.
It's almost too pretty to be a race car, that car, when you look at it up close. There's so much detail on it. He's, you know, really debuted in style with that car, but Adnan just finding his feet. It's pretty hard to jump into a car here for the first time and to be a car as fast as this. So he's doing a fantastic job keeping that car clean. And likewise on screen now, Antoine really kind of keeping that pressure on Enzo as Rick is sort of bolted now in front of Jim.
Well, out of the field of 14 cars originally slated for the weekend, 6 of them rookies here this weekend, and what an incredible place, and probably a daunting place to make your debut as well.
Chatting to Ross Tamain, one of our Chauffeur Probably 488 drivers, currently sitting second in class a little earlier on, and he raced here about 10, 11 years ago in an Evo, and he said that car you really had to muscle around this track. It had lock diffs and it slid all over the place, and he said now completely different driving style than a car like this, and he's really kind of got to build himself up slowly on a track like this where you don't get a lot of running time outside. You can't do a track day here or a test day very often, so for him jumping in, it's really about sort of just building up slowly over the weekend.
For about 350 days throughout the year, it's a public road. 60 kilometres per hour is the speed limit, but not for these Ferrari Challenge cars.
Not for Antoine, that time behind Enzo, 298 at the chase speed marker there in the toe of Enzo Cheng.
He's probably getting a bit of a double toe as well with Pollicina in front of him, but still can't quite find a way past Cheng in front. Incidentally, out in front, 208.3 for your race leader. 2.3 seconds now is the margin as Wilson gets down the inside of Truern there at the final corner and moves himself up to position number 5. Truern, though, making it quite easy for him because Truern's still leading Copper Shell.
And as I said earlier, Rod had some great race pace yesterday, but it only kind of turned on halfway through. So we're interested to see now he's got some clean air. If he can do anything about catching these guys or even just knocking some time out, there is that point we said for fastest lap as well.
Ghigattani thought about it then in underneath Enzo Cheng. When the team spoke with him at the end of qualifying this morning, they said, it's a bit of a question mark over your time. How do you feel about that? He goes, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to send it. And that's exactly what he's going to do at the moment. He sits back there in position number 4. Plenty of time still remaining in this one. 23 minutes on the clock. Ghigattani yesterday had speed, but it's almost a case of deja vu, isn't it? Because he was caught behind Cheng for the entire 30 minutes.
And you can already see now Enzo he's driving a little bit defensive. You can see him choking over through the great McPhillamy. He's not using all of the road, kind of opening the door to Antoine behind. So, you know, he's still managing to maintain that gap to Jim a little bit, but it's definitely spending a lot of time at this stage to say, looking in that rearview mirror.
The more that this trio battle, the more that your race leader is able to extend that margin out in front, already 3.1 seconds. So if anything changes and Ghigattani gets past the 2 in front, he's going to have a lot of work to try and catch your race leader out in front.
And it's busy back here. There with 105 car of Masahiro Taguchi. And then Emil Norden joining the party at the back there with the 275 car as well, Richard Moore. So this is going to be a bit of a battle pack here. Obviously different classes racing against each other at this point, with Richard being 8th outright, but first in his class. But the speed differential you can see there of the 105 car of Taguchi and the 296 really does make a difference.
Also key to note, as part of the experience for these drivers, they're all really given a driver coach, aren't they, in order to help them through the race. But they really, in some regards, actually commentate the drivers through the race.
That's correct, yeah. The driver coaches are all experienced guys racing in GT, you know, in Australia and overseas, or GT4. And all these driver coaches are there, obviously, to help them extract a lap time, but also to teach them the racecraft that is needed to, you know, come and race at Bathurst and those sort of things. So at this stage, they'll be talking to their drivers about, you know, the strategy of the best position to be looking to overtake, to not lose any time, but also about the other battles that are happening around them. You know, the classic spotter calls of the gap to the car behind, the gap to the car in front, and other things to just manage on the way through. So those coaches and engineers really do help play a part of, I guess, you know, progressing these drivers from coming out of, you know, amateur categories and working towards that pro driving.
And with the continual evolution of sim racing as well, a lot of these drivers hopping on those formats in order to hone their skills and improve their craft.
Yeah, it's a very easy way, particularly now with things like the 296 Challenge being included in some of the more common, you know, available simulators. It's a great way of them, I guess, you know, training their brain, working on mental fatigue in the car as well. It's you know, concentrating in a car in a sim is very similar at times. The physical aspect changes, but in terms of actually driving in the sim, it's a very good way of learning the track and training your brain for the sort of the frequency of corners. Richard's getting a bit impatient now, moving around a little bit behind there. Be interesting to see if he can kind of squeeze the car, but he is going to have that issue of that slipperier and faster 296 in front on Conrad every time. So he's a bit of a meat in the sandwich here at the moment. It's going to be a hard position for him to try and get any kind of net gain from.
He's got to be somewhat careful here, doesn't he? Because as it stands currently, he's leading that Trofeo Pirelli 488 class. So yes, an outright position sounds wonderful, but you've got to look after your class lead as well.
And at the moment, he's set for a clean sweep of qualified pole in class, fastest lap in class for each of the races, as well as there's the move there on Enzo with Jim. And also Antoine looking for a gap down the inside.
They're all together here, heading down into Hell Corner, and it looks like it's going to be Ghigattani that will try and make the big lunge down the inside. Policina's gone from second all the way back to position number 4 here. Cheng is going to hold on, but it's going to be a run all the way up to Griffin's Bend.
That was a fantastic move, obviously maximising that run out of the final turn. They all gave each other plenty of racing room coming through turn 1, which was nice to see, but obviously at that point the elbows come out and it's every man for themselves on the exit.
Ghigattani had a bit of a margin over Cheng and also Ghigattani, so it leaves me to think that maybe he had a moment somewhere which gave up the time, and all of a sudden Cheng finds himself now in that second spot, and the lead has now blown out to 4.6 seconds.
And looking at the timing as well, in that last sector there, you've got nearly 9/10 that have been picked up. Here was a replay.
So Policina under attack here from Cheng down into the final corner. And real heads-up driving there from Policina. Gets just a little bit caught up on the exit ripple strip. And that's where Ghigattani was able to put the car right hard on driver's left going down the Maguire's pit straight. Cheng was like the meat and the sandwich then through Hell Corner, but was able to hold on in that drag race up the hill.
And it looked like when Jim went wide onto the curb, it looked like he had a big lift there as well to sort of avoid spinning the car or sort of overly hurting the rear tyre. So just that loss of momentum. It is quite uphill there. That first bit of the front straight is quite a big uphill. So if you do lift there, you do lose quite a bit of momentum in time.
Still further back through the field, Taguchi-san, Norton, and also Moore continuing to battle it out for positions 7, 8, and 9 overall, down into Forest Elbow.
And this is for the second step of that copper shell podium. We've got these two guys fighting out at the moment, so I will ask them to change their livery slightly for the next race. They're both very yellow for my eyes, but it's great to see those two guys having a battle because they are guys that have been involved in Club Challenge for quite some time.
So this isn't done with yet. Now, if you cast your mind back and you're watching the live streams yesterday, this is exactly the situation we were in, but this is for the race lead. Today, it's for position number 2 because Armstrong is 4.6 seconds in front. So it's Cheng, Gattani, and Policina for positions 2, 3, and 4.
And looking today as well with Rod. Rod's now in clean air, but he's just not got the same race pace today in that car that he did yesterday. So I think it will be those three having the battle here. Be interesting to see now with Amon Norton there in the rear in that car 100. Wriggling around, really working that ABS hard. These cars have got a carbon ceramic brake package, both the 488 and the 296, but the 296 has a, what they call a carbon ceramic or a CCMR. It's a much different compound. It provides a very different feel to the driver, but also a fly-by-wire brake pedal. So that ABS system in the car really helps an amateur driver, you know, pull these cars up from such big speeds with reliability and performance.
With a little bit of cloud cover over the racetrack at the moment, the pace today is significantly quicker than what we saw yesterday. The fastest time yesterday was a 209.1. In fact, rather, my apologies, 208.5. Today we're down to a 208.1, so roughly 0.4 of a second quicker the pace out in front. Much to the liking of Armstrong with the clear air that he's got out in front. Now, Gattani, if he wants to do anything about your lead around in front, he's going to have to get this move done now. Otherwise, his chances of a race win here this afternoon will be going by the wayside.
Exactly, and what you mentioned before about the track as well, not just the ambient and sunlight on the circuit, but since we've been on track this morning for qualifying, there's been a lot of very fast cars putting rubber down across the day. That Pirelli rubber obviously helps grip the track up, and it's really a guess for us when we're coming in the race exactly what we're going to do setup-wise with the car, because we haven't had any running during the day to see how it's evolved. So the track may have gone away. People like Rod's car, where he just doesn't have the pace, it may have made a bit of a, you know, calculated sort of change to the car's setup that hasn't gone his way. But I can also see these guys now moving around a lot more under brakes. They're really starting to work those Pirelli tyres hard.
Of course, ABS in these cars as well, which is adjustable throughout the course of the race. Also adjustable traction control, where they've got sort of 2 settings. So that sort of varies on how much you use and also when the traction control comes in through the corner.
And that was well timed, Brian, because in the background there I saw Jim Policina have a nice little sideways sort of little faint drift as he came onto the mountain straight there. But the traction control is a really good tool for us to help extract performance out of the driver, but it is also way more repeatable than a driver is. The biggest variable in a car's setup is the driver, usually doing the same thing every corner of every lap. So we use that system to really help dial the car in to the conditions and also into the driver.
G. Norton then struggling under brakes underneath the rear wing of Taguchi, heading into Hell Corner, then that time by, still battling it out for 7th and 8th overall on the racetrack, and for Taguchi holding on to that second place in Copper Shell as we take you back now to the battle for position number 2. Going across the top, McPhillamy Park in one of these 296 challenge cars. It's 220 kilometres per hour at that exact point. Heading back down the mountain again. And for a lot of these drivers, these cars around this racetrack, it's been a dream for them, hasn't it, for a long time to compete here at Mount Panorama. And really that progression that one day from these drivers competing here in Ferrari Challenge, we hope to potentially see them one day driving a GT3.
That's right, Brian. And what's one of the cool things about Ferrari Challenge globally is that it gives the owners and the drivers access to circuits you wouldn't necessarily get a chance to race at. So places like Spa and Monza and yeah, F1 circuits around the world are fantastic. We've spent time at Albert Park over the years as well as the category. But, you know, Bathurst, for so many of the overseas drivers, when we were at the Finale Mondiale last year, they all talked about round one in Australia at Bathurst again. You guys must be crazy. You know, it's a fantastic place, and it is a really, really cool place to drive a GT car fast as well.
And that chance for someone as well to go to the Le Mans 24-hour this year too and play support to that fabulous race in June. So, 13 minutes to go. Your leader is Armstrong out in front. The battle for two continues on, and it's on right now into Shannon's Hell Corner as Cheng continues to hold off Gattani, but for how much longer? Because Gattani wants one back on Cheng, because when you think of the overall context of the championship, this really is where the points really start to add up, even at the early point of the season.
I've just seen there Armstrong as well. Whilst he's got a gap, he's still just put in another personal best there, 2:07.4. Just bolting away from these guys. Obviously, he's very confident with the car while they're sort of struggling to kind of get into the sevens at all at this stage.
That's a very impressive lap time, isn't it, in race pace conditions. So he's proving his worth out in front. Done a lot of Porsche racing as of late, but stepping into one of these Ferrari cars here this weekend, and we heard him on the grid really enjoying the challenge, but feeling the pressure at the same time.
And that's probably the hardest thing, I think, jumping into a series where these guys have raced against the three we're seeing on screen now. Every race last year, they were racing together. They know each other. They know what they're sort of, you know, prepared to do and not do in terms of the car, whereas Rick's turning up to their party and kind of unsure about where he sits in the picture. So probably the best thing he could do is just run away from them.
Correct. Now, Gattani is close again, heading down into Forest Elbow here. Not going to show the nose, though, this time by. Behind the Policina is still right on that rear wing of Gattani. Speaking of that rear wing, it is adjustable, 7 different positions in order to help increase downforce or try and reduce the drag, which is something that you try and do here at Mount Panorama, so you are fast heading down the chute on Conrod Straight. Gattani trying to show the nose here, not quite. He is actually close enough, but thinks better of it. Cheng saw him in the mirrors and slightly opened the door.
Big movement by Antoine as well. I think he's really working those tyres now, looking for every opportunity he can.
You reckon he was into the ABS as well as it squirmed out of the chase? This is a great battle. Enjoying this one. 11 minutes to go. It's Armstrong, Cheng, Gattani, Policina, the top 4. Wilson back there in 5. Trewern leading Coppershell and Moore still on top in Trofeo Pirelli 488. Margin, incidentally, from first back to second, 6.5 seconds now.
This other battle here with Emil Norden behind there in the car 100, trying to find his way past Masahiro Taguchi. Still a few minutes left at this stage, obviously closing in on David Trewern as well. So there is the potential here for if Emil gets on with it, to get up to David Trewern and battle him for first place.
Using the limits of the track then, coming out of Murray's corner, dropping the right-hand side of the car off the edge of the racetrack.
It's a shame we don't have the old race cam available. We could throw it down to Richard Moore now. He's got the best seat in the house here, sitting in the 275 car, watching this all unfold in front of him.
Pace has picked up for Enzo Cheng. He's just done a session best to the first sector, and we mentioned of that lead a moment ago being at 6.4 seconds. Well, it's been cut down by a second in the first sector alone. This race might not be done with just yet, with 10 minutes to go. But if Gattani wants to get the elbows out and go for that second spot, then that lead will continue to blow out.
And Brian, within about, I'd say, a half a lap, we're going to start seeing lap traffic. So all of a sudden, this battle here of 3 is going to start catching some of our Trofeo Pirelli 488 drivers, and that's going to be another variable thrown into the mix here, is how Enzo deals with that and where they approach.
Gattani a little bit closer than this time by 7th gear, 300 kilometres per hour, right at the kink. Will he show the nose? He does this time by back down to 4th, 110 at the apex here at the left-hander. Will he go into position number 2? No, Cheng around the outside, has the inside for the right-hander, will hold on. Watch for Policina in behind as well. He looks, thinks about it. Here comes Gattani. Cheng doesn't want any of it. Contact, Gattani through and off into the sand. That is a championship-changing moment in race 2 of season 2026.
Yeah, that move, he just choked to the inside. It's always a dirty line on the inside there, hard to arrest the car. And when you're in that position, it is hard to see in these cars if they're on the left-hand side there. So what have we got? 8.5 minutes left. It'll be interesting to see what they can do from a recovery point of view, because this could potentially pull Jim Pollicina now in P2 right on the back of Rick Armstrong.
And it's in a tough spot there as well, so you feel like the intervention of a safety car might come here late in the race. The fans down there at Murray's Corner got a good view of that one, but Gattani will be bitter. Stuck in the sand, safety car is called.
It'll be interesting to see that replay there. Like, it obviously started coming into the chase. There was a bit of a delay on Enzo getting out there. Antoine's looked for the move. Enzo sort of closed him out a little bit. It's going to be a hard one for Steve Owen to have a look at. I probably need to say that a few more times myself there, but it was very, very tight. Jim Pollicina, though, knew what was going to happen. You could see him move out of the way and really make sure he got cleanly through there.
Pit pocket, the both of them. We spoke about the battle for the championship between these two, Enzo Cheng and Antoine Gattani, and already at the start of this season, it's rumbled, and we're going to speak about that all season long. I'll tell you what, for Gattani, it was lucky that car didn't actually trip over on itself, because the way that it went sideways into the sand there, it was lucky that it didn't actually end up on its lid.
It's good to see Antoine out of the car. I mean, these cars are amazingly safe vehicles, an incredible roll cage and halo seat inside there. An impact like that may look bad, but obviously they're designed to sort of shed the parts to sort of, I guess, move energy away from the driver's cockpit area. So it's good to see Antoine out of the car there. And obviously the recovery crews are going to be pretty quick down there to get on the car. And we might see, with 7 minutes remaining, we might see one more green flag lap.
Potentially, and he's talking to the officials down there, just explaining what happened and how the retrieval process might play out. And for Rick Armstrong, that safety car came out just before he reached that lap traffic, like you mentioned of a moment ago. But if we do get this race back underway, it's going to be Pollicina. It'll be right underneath the rear wing of your race leader. And that will set up for a brilliant race to the finish.
The recovery team here, it's one of those positions on the track where it's usually quite fast for them to kind of do that recovery, because they can sneak them down the back road there and clear it up pretty quickly. So let's hope, with the fact that there's not too much debris on the circuit itself, we can get it there. Antoine just giving Enzo a wave on the way through.
Yep, showing his frustrations indeed. But unfortunately, it's not going to help with him stuck on the outside of the racetrack there at Murray's Corner. But he'll try and regroup, regather himself for the second round of the championship coming up at the back end of March at Phillip Island. Another chance to have a look at this replay. And this is where sort of it all started, because he went for that big move down the inside of the chase. But Cheng was able to hold on. And then it was Pollicina that thought about the move as well, heading down into Murray's Corner.
You can see Jim looking for the inside, realising it's not on there. Antoine's very committed at this point in ABS. Enzo's probably not giving him a huge amount of space coming into the apex there, but as I said, it is very, very hard to see. So Steve Owen, our DSO, is going to have to spend a fair bit of time here looking at footage, talking to the drivers to sort of, I guess, deliberate on that one.
It's a tough job, that one, and certainly a position I would not want to be in, that's for sure. So 5 minutes remaining in this race. Whether or not we get another lap in here, we'll have to wait and see, because we are on a bit of a tight schedule as well, with the Pirelli pole battle coming up next for the Maguire's Bathurst 12 hour. And Enzo Cheng there on screen, pushed back to position number 3 now, incidentally, in this race. It's great to have them here, though, this weekend at Mount Panorama. And like we mentioned, for a lot of these drivers, it's their debut in the category here this weekend. But for a number of these stars, it's that opportunity to really elevate themselves up the Ferrari echelon and make their way into hopefully a GT3 car. But what we're going to see throughout the course of 2026 is these cars visiting some fast racetracks that really suit these cars as well, thinking of, you know, Phillip Island and the Bend, high downforce places that really come to liking for a Ferrari car, I should say.
And we've spent with the feeder series, I guess, if you like, to this program called Ferrari Club Challenge, same cars, same specification as this, just more of a learning and driver development program. We've been working at those tracks for a few years now, so we've got great data. Our drivers have got a great amount of experience there, and it means that we can turn up with a setup in these cars and some existing data to train new drivers and get them up to speed as quickly as possible.
One thing we haven't mentioned of too much in this race is the braking system in these cars as well, running a carbon ceramic material, and it's the plus variant, I guess you would say, which really extends the longevity of the life of the rotor.
Yeah, it's a big change from the 488. We're seeing cars last year do a full season on a set of rotors, which is fantastic. In the 488, it can sort of be, a half season or thereabouts. But probably the key thing is with the fly-by-wire brake pedal is the difference in feel and performance you can get for various drivers, and the changing of that ABS mode helps extract that extra performance that you can get out of that new braking package. 408
millimetres in diameter at the front and 390 millimetres at the rear, so they are very big, and that stopping power is very, very high, particularly at the end of Conrod Straight here.
We're seeing over 900 degrees in those rotors in a heavy stop, so it's fantastic the way in which they can pull the car up. It really is, having driven GT cars on steel brakes, jumping into a carbon ceramic car with downforce like this, that initial bite you get out of these rotors is fantastic, but it's when you're getting deep into the corner, like deep into the chase here, you really feel that sort of retardation of the car increase significantly because of that compound and that material being used in those rotors.
Chad did a great job on the grid of explaining the twin-turbo V6 producing around about 700 horsepower, but they're a little bit different than the road car variant because we don't run the hybrid system here.
That's right, yeah, these cars are not hybridized like the road car is, where they push that power up, 800 horsepower. 700 is still an amazing number to have in these, and the fact that they have that dual clutch transmission means you don't have that kind of classic small delay on a gear shift like you would have in the GT cars. They're still amazing to drive, very, very fast, but they are, the torque application of this powertrain in these cars means that on a run down a long straight, you just don't have that small little step of deceleration on this gear change.
So just hearing, this is the last lap, so Rick Armstrong will bring the field to the start-finish line and will collect the race win here for race number 2 of Ferrari Challenge Australasia. And interesting to note, Enzo Cheng is under investigation and in fact has a 15-second time penalty. So right on cue, that penalty has come through, and that's going to put him right towards the rear of the field. So Rick Armstrong will get the race win here for race number 2 of Ferrari Challenge Australasia to complete round 1 here at Mount Panorama. Policina home in second. It elevates Wilson to position number 3. Trewern and Taguchi-san completing the top 5.
And Trewern there taking the win for Copper Shell as well. So that little extra battle will never quite played out for us, unfortunately. Again, Richard Moore, another great drive by him to get P1 for the Trofeo Pirelli 488 class.
So there you have it. A dramatic way to end race number 2 of the weekend. These results are provisional, so Rick Armstrong gets the job done from Policina. Cheng, though, with a 15-second time penalty, will go from first all the way back down to position number 12. So Wilson goes to third, and we turn over the page. Antoine Gattani, a case of what could have been for him, but stuck in the sand down there at the final turn. A dramatic weekend in the end for the opening round of Ferrari Challenge Australasia. Their next round will be coming up the end of March, and that will be at Phillip Island. Red, it's been a lot of fun this weekend.
It has, Brian. It's been awesome. Can't wait for round 2 coming up soon.
So we'll have a look at some of the highlights here for race number 2 of Trofeo Pirelli Ferrari Challenge Australasia here at Mount Panorama. And it was Rick Armstrong that was able to get that initial jump in the run to turn number 1. He had to do it the tough way, though, around the outside, but he made it stick and got the run up Mountain Straight for the first time. Of course, the Kiwi showing us how it's done here at Mount Panorama.
And it was a great battle that was unfolding behind him here at the start as well. So obviously Enzo and Antoine from day 1, lap 1, but Jim Policina there just having a big sneak up the inside, making the most of that, which he proved to do at the end there, getting himself second position. Rob Wilson, a big move on David Trewern there coming into Murray Corner. Rod was sort of struggling for pace a little bit, but obviously has ended up on the podium, which is a fantastic result for him.
Cheng, Policina and Gattani did have a brilliant battle, and they would go 3 wide into turn number 1. Gattani thought for a moment that he had that second spot, but for Cheng, he was able to get that spot and drag race him up the hill going into Griffin's Bend. Policina just had to sit back there at the end in position number 4, and then it all started to take off for this second spot as Gattani went down the inside, but couldn't get the move done, and then all hell broke loose down here at the final turn as Gattani and Cheng made contact. Gattani through the inside of the racetrack and ultimately would end up in the sand on the outside of Murray's Corner.
That penalty there obviously pushing Enzo Cheng back, but the run, the pace that they had there was really sort of ramping up to be a great result. Obviously Anton, they're very frustrated in the gravel trap watching Enzo drive by.
So a great result for Rick Armstrong, gets the job done here at Mount Panorama. We're building up to the Pirelli Bowl Paddle here at Mount Panorama. Hope you're enjoying the action on this Super Saturday at Mount Panorama.
With race fans here at the 12-hour need a little time out from the action on track, I found the perfect place. I'm down here at the Sked Area Auto Art Chill Zone. It's a great spot to get something to eat, maybe a drink, or learn about RPM, which is a brand new partner of the 12-hour, because I was going to tell us all about it. What is RPM? I'm sure lots of fans have noticed the signage on the track and on the bridges down Conrod.
Absolutely, we've had plenty of questions. So RPM is essentially a virtual online fan engagement platform. It's designed to bring a lot of those conversations that you might have with your mates trackside into a virtual platform essentially. So content creators and others alike can have these conversations that you might have here at the racetrack, online and at home, and increase that fan engagement.
Perfect. Now, how is Sked Area Auto Art involved in this?
Well, Sked Area is really excited about the technology that they're creating. So down the track, what we're really hoping is that this will expand our platform for displaying and advertising our products. So there is the hopes that we might be able to digitally sell some of these products through the platform and reach that greater automotive motorsport market.
Perfect. There you go. So awesome spot for the fans to come and chill out here at the 12A. You cannot miss those bridges down Conrod.